But
Yep.
now I would say that with the acquisition, we have moved into the third phase of the history of Arduino, which is all about democratizing AI, especially on the edge.
On this episode of Embedded Insiders, Ken sits down with Marcello Majonchi, Chief Product Officer at Arduino, to discuss the Qualcomm acquisition, whether Arduino will continue to develop on non-Qualcomm platforms and products, and the company's future. Next, Yednesh Parnaik, Head of Strategic Sales and Growth for Automotive, EV, and Industrial Automation at ENNOVI, joins the podcast to discuss electrification and AI. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Embedded Insiders podcast. I am Assistant Managing Editor Tiara Oliver, joined with our Editor-in-Chief, Ken Briota.
Well, hello, Tiara. How are you on this fine day?
I'm good. We're experiencing our monsoon season slightly here in Phoenix, so it's been a long time coming.
We're having another heat wave, not quite as bad as the previous one that we had 2 weeks ago, but nothing compared to what you typically have. Although we like to add humidity just for flavor. And our air quality is trash because there's some forest fires in Canada right now that are real bad. So hopefully no people will get hurt up there, but all the smoke is coming this way. So the air just looks brown currently.
Yeah.
Other than that, things are great.
Awesome. I was just thinking, it's so funny how we always start the podcast talking about the weather on our respective coasts, because you're on the East Coast and I'm on the West Coast. So we're kind of just a well-rounded, here's the weather.
Will this feud never end?
Exactly. But I figured we'd kind of keep our intro short this week because we have got some big interviews, both are video interviews for everyone listening. So remember that, because they will be on YouTube. One's already live because big news. Both interviews you did, but there's one that I figure is it's big news.
Well, so the big news was last fall. Last September it was announced, and then November it closed when Qualcomm acquired Arduino. That was big news. That was a big deal. And so they've been doing all this integration for a while, and I got a chance to sit down with the chief product officer for Arduino just this week, and we chatted and talked about how the integration's going, what some of the plans of the future are, how Arduino's been partners with tons of different manufacturers and OEMs for years, how those other partnerships are being impacted. It's a great conversation. We cover a lot of ground. Marcello was just such a fun guy to talk to. So I think all of y'all should go and give that a listen. I mean, you're already here, so you're gonna.
Yes. Yeah. I see it'll be a really big push for obviously AI, edge AI.
For sure.
And overall just more competition.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, the other interview is really cool too. That you're going to hear today. I did it a little while ago, but there's some cool product information and we have really fun tech discussion there. So make sure you guys check that out too.
Yes, I think we'll leave it at that. I mean, this podcast will be packed with some good interviews, and they're also on YouTube if you prefer to watch Ken instead of listening to him.
Don't do that to yourself. Don't suffer with both, guys. No, I'm kidding. Go over to YouTube, watch both, and listen to both. Subscribe to both. All interview all day long.
Exactly. That's the only way to do it.
That's all I ever do.
Exactly. Well, stay tuned, everyone. Should be a good podcast. And as always, like, subscribe, tell us your thoughts. I'm taking over your quote, Ken.
Incredible.
And yeah, we'll see you guys soon next week for another podcast, because we're not letting our foot off the gas over here.
That's right. We'll talk to you all soon. Be well.
Now, here's Marcello Majonchi of Arduino.
Hello, friends, engineers, and developers all. Welcome to another segment here on Embedded Insiders. I am Ken Briota. I'm the editor-in-chief of Embedded Computing Design and your host today. And I'm so happy to be here with Marcello Majonchi of Arduino and now Qualcomm. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Ken. Really, really happy to be here with you.
So happy to be here and to get a chance to chat today. Our audience of engineers and developers, the first thing they're going to want to know is, are they still going to be able to build and hobby and work with Arduino? They all love Arduino. Tell us about the things that are going to be continuing under the new organization.
Well, I'm happy to report, right, that in almost a year, right, after the acquisition, things are really going well, in the sense that we really keep not only the same pace of innovation that we used to keep before the acquisition, right, but we're actually moving faster and bigger, right, because not only we continue to work on the same technologies that we kind of used to work before, and we are we kept a pace of release of products not based on Qualcomm technology, and we are continuing to release this type of products. But on top of that, we're of course releasing quite exciting new products based on Qualcomm technology. However, with the same spirit, namely the same licenses that we used before, right? So just to give you a couple of examples, right? The last two major products on Qualcomm technology that were released, of course, the Arduino Uno Q and Arduino App Lab, which is the developer environment for the Arduino Uno Q. The hardware was released with the same Creative Commons license that we use for any other Arduino board, and App Lab and all its components have been released on GitHub source code with the same GPL3 licenses that we've been using. So it's more of the same, if you will, but it's the good same, right? It's the good stuff. So we're really happy about it.
Absolutely. There was a lot of mixed emotions when folks started hearing about the acquisition, because as you know, Arduino is a beloved company. Everybody loves an Arduino board, and sometimes in an acquisition by a larger entity, things change about culture or product, or there are mandates from on high that didn't exist before, and folks were a little bit worried about that. And so I'd like to assuage, if possible, or report to people if there's changes that they should expect. So can we talk a little bit about just the transition and how it's been going, and what the experience has been like for the Arduino team? So let's start with how has it been feeling? How's it been going for this integration?
Well, I'm kind of, just looking. I'm in my office here in Torino, right, which is the Arduino headquarters, and I, literally, I'm looking. I have a big window, and there is a lot of the Arduino team, the product team, and a bunch of engineers and content creators here, and I'm just looking over, and things are surprisingly similar to what they used to be before the acquisition, right? There is, literally, I can see any Qualcomm logo here, just Arduino logos like the one behind. And jokes aside, Arduino is to this day an independent subsidiary, right? And as part of Qualcomm, so we kept our independence and also a mandate to just do what we do best, right? Which is talk to developers, be developers, and really think about the products that first and foremost we would love to use ourselves. Right, and this has been the spirit. This has been the the approach that hopefully translated into the culture that as leadership we're able to kind of to share with the rest of the team. And so the mood is great. The feeling is that we get to play with very cool technology. Now, maybe, one of the things that actually have changed, right? We have a bunch of, developer kits that we didn't have before, right? With very kind of, cool and fancy, new chipsets and so on that we get to play with. So from that standpoint, it's actually really cool. But other than that, same, openness, same, developer first mindset, because we are a developer ourselves. And same real goal to kind of build something that can be shared with the community, and is something that is not just pushed there and then forgotten about. It's just something that is meant to be shared so that people can work on it, open the hood, see how it's done, contribute to it, and amplify right the overall spirit on top of the technology itself.
Yeah, and that's incredible to hear. I mean, I could obviously see that things were continuing and you guys were still innovating and stuff, but to hear it directly from you feels really good. You mentioned changes. Obviously, changes come. What are some of the changes you've been experiencing or that you're expecting? I mean, obviously, you've got access to a lot of stuff at Qualcomm that you didn't have before, but but other than that, what other changes have you been experiencing?
Well, from a personal standpoint, right, I get to travel to San Diego way more often than I used to, which is not necessarily a bad thing, given that there are worse places to be traveling to. But again, jokes aside, right, I would say that the main change is, of course, access to technology, right? Of course, historically, Arduino has collaborated very closely with a lot of, different silicon manufacturers. And, that was kind of, an internal joke, right, that, despite being a very small company, every single one of the big guys wanted to work with us, right?
Yeah.
And we are continuing to do that, and we are still working with all the other kind of big names. But of course, we have this, really kind of, unfiltered access to one of them, which is Qualcomm, so that we really get not just to use preview products like we used to from the others, but really kind of contribute back to improve these products, right, by providing our feedback. We are kind of in a way also not just a subsidiary of Qualcomm, but also consider sort of a customer zero, if you will, right?
Yeah, a test case for new things.
Test case. If it works for us, right? Because we're also similar to our community, very vocal, right? And we say what we like, but also what we don't like. And our feedback is really taking into account, and this is it feels it feels very good. It feels more than anything like a very good collaboration, and maybe because it started so, right? We started first collaborating on building products together, and then we started the discussion about acquisitions, and it's really continuing with the same with same spirit. Just to I'm quoting back, right, Nakul Dugal, which is the the GM and EVP for IoT and industrial and automotive, which is our kind of our reference leader, if you will, before Cristiano, the CEO. That from a Qualcomm perspective, the goal of the acquisition has always been to try and make Qualcomm look a little bit more like Arduino and not the opposite, right? He said, I think that he said that when we actually did the event when we announced the acquisition, but it really feels that way, right? And I think that that it's actually a very good signal.
Yeah, and I've reported on Qualcomm for a long time. I think if Qualcomm ends up looking a little more like Arduino, that's all to the good. So that's I think that's fun and a great mission to have, and a great direction for this to go in. So enough about the past and where we are now. Tell me about the future. Where I mean, it is probably undeniable to say that Arduino now has resources within reach that you have not had before. You have scale within reach that you have not had before. So what are you planning to do that you've not done before?
Well, you see, let me take a step back, right? And this is the way that I explain, right, the history of Arduino. So this year, Arduino celebrated its 21st right year of
really,
right? Feels like yesterday, but we are
I'll have to buy you a drink, I guess.
Absolutely. I was about to say the same. So in this in the last 21 years, right, I like to identify 3 different phases, right, in the history of the company. There is the original phase, right, from the early days, incubated within the the Design Institute in Ivrea, where really the mission of Arduino was, or the goal of Arduino was to democratize electronics, right? Then there was a second wave, I would say, in the mid 2010s, where really the focus shifted, right, more towards IoT and democratization of the edge coding and connectivity, right? But now I would say that with the acquisition, we have moved into the third phase of the history of Arduino, which is all about democratizing AI, especially on the edge. You see, I kind of see a lot of similarities in what is happening in the market. Of course, nothing to do from a technology perspective, right? But the point is that in the same way that in the early 2000s, there was an opportunity for a lot of creative people to transform products into intelligent products and connected products. What they needed was a platform and an approach that would provide all the tools in a way that was accessible to them. The same is happening today with AI. There are a lot of people that have amazing ideas for new smart products and AI products, but AI is too damn hard. You need multiple PhDs, right, in order to kind of to really master that technology. And it doesn't have to be that way.
I would argue that no one has mastered it yet. So yeah, I agree.
And so, given that the common thread throughout all the 21 year of Arduino history was that our mission is to take complex technology and make them simple to use, right?
Yeah.
The complex technology these days, right, in this day and age, that is really meant to be simple to use, is AI. And this is the goal, and this is really ultimately the North Star that is guiding all the new initiatives that we're doing. The way that I like to call it is that we live in a world that arguably has millions of AI users. We want to turn them into millions of AI builders, people that integrate AI in what they do, not just use AI, right, as mere consumers of it.
Right. Interesting. I like that philosophy. I'm a little bit of a, within parameters, AI poo-pooer. I don't see a lot of value in an LLM. I don't see, beyond being a toy or whatever. Everyone listening has heard me make this rant before. But I do see a lot of value in the sort of purpose-built, small model, custom, not proprietary necessarily, but like built on the data of the thing it's going to be working on, kind of AI. And I think that Arduino is an incredible place to be working on that kind of an AI tool, because you guys are so good at that sort of compact, easy to use, edge native kind of thing that everyone's looking for in AI. So that's really cool to me. I love to hear that that's where your focus is at the moment.
Absolutely. And this, of course, right, translates into the products that we're working on. Of course, last year in November, contextually to the acquisition, we announced the Arduino Uno Q, which is the first, outcome of the collaboration, Arduino App Lab, which is the new generation of developer tools. But now we are really, getting into the last mile of, the ultimate product, right, which is already previewed at Embedded World a few months back, which is the Arduino Ventuno Q, which is really bringing AI right on the desks of anybody, right? Because we with the Ventuno Q, we are really focusing on bringing down the access barrier, whether it is cost or complexity, for people that want to kind of have AI at the edge available for them to experiment, to learn, and to build great things. And it's a combination of accessible hardware and accessible software developer tools. Right? Yeah. And so you will see just literally we are a few weeks away from when we will start opening sales for the Ventuno Q. You will see that there is probably no other product with the same capability at that price point in the market. Yeah. And also, none of the other products have such a comprehensive support from a software perspective and developer experience perspective, ranging from ultimate abstraction with Arduino App Lab that really gains AI capabilities, all the way to the standard tools that you can use for kind of any other AI technology, right? So that you are not constrained, but if you want, there is an happy path that will get you to a level of refinement of the final kind of application that would not be possible, right, without this new approach. All sprinkled with actually AI tooling in itself, right? Because it's not just about integrating AI, but also using AI to do that.
Right.
And so you will see that we will be introducing new features in App Lab, such as the integration with agentic, coders, so that you will be able to really orchestrate your development experience through, Cloud Code, Codex, so on and so forth, because this is kind of, the type of workflow the developers are expecting. But the idea is not to disintermediate the developer, but to provide abstraction without obfuscation, so that these type of technologies would be not just easier to use, but also faster, right, and more proficient for them, right, to use in order to integrate into their projects.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw Hank Green do a talk about AI and especially code for code tools, whether it be helping write code or helping authorize or debug or whatever, as a substrate technology, a thing that's sort of like going to explode and become ubiquitous. And I find that very interesting, and I find the thinking about that from folks like you and other folks that I've talked to, in not that it's going to replace human coders, but that it's going to make them able to create more interesting, more varied, and more mass of code at a greater scale. So that's an interesting idea.
Absolutely. You see, if you put AI in the hands of someone that knows what they're doing, right, the quality of the output is going to be kind of massively kind of better, right? At the same time, AI is also enabling people that would not be able to do it without it to be able to to get somewhere, right, instead of nowhere. You also have to consider that differently from AI in the cloud, which is the most common place where AI runs these days. AI on the edge adds a new level, another layer of complexity, which is the fact that it is constrained into a kind of physical, form factor where compute is not infinite, right? But is kind of as a limit, right? Which, and also something that is physically constrained, which means that in order to be as effective as you can, AI and your tooling needs to have some degree of awareness about the physical condition of your setup, right? It's not as ethereal as the cloud, right? But it needs to kind of understand exactly, right, what it's dealing with, especially if you have peripherals and so on.
Yeah.
And so one of the innovations that we're introducing in our App Lab toolchain is really kind of MCP servers, not much to tell AI what that processor is capable, but what that system is actually able to do, right? What are the peripherals? What are the constraints? What are the things that can be connected in terms of sensor, actuator, and so on, so that when you build an application, your AI will be able to understand exactly what are the conditions, right? What is the perimeter of action in order to be as efficient as it can be.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I think we're at an interesting inflection point in the world with respect to this stuff, and I'm glad to see that Arduino has at least its hands on the reins. Now, the last question that I'd love to ask you is a question that I love to ask everybody, because I can't know everything, which means I can't always know what to ask. So what I'll ask you is, what didn't I think to ask you that the folks out there listening, our engineers and developers, really ought to know about Arduino, where you're going, maybe about the Qualcomm acquisition, maybe about something else? What do you think they should know in this moment about what you guys are doing?
I think that we briefly touched at the beginning, but it's something that is so important to me, to Arduino, but also to the community that is kind of worth double clicking on it. And the question is, will Arduino keep doing stuff outside of the Qualcomm technology, right? And the answer is a resound yes. Right? Because Qualcomm does a lot of very kind of cool things, but there are areas where simply it doesn't have products, it doesn't have technologies, but also where there are also other technologies that we love and we think that there is an added value for the community itself, right?
Yeah.
So you will see, right, starting from the coming months, steady streams of new products that will have no Qualcomm technology in it, or very little Qualcomm technology that maybe not be even core. So we will continue to feed right into the same streams that we've been doing in the past, but also adding all these new kind of form factors and these new products, opening up new opportunities for developers for for building really cool things. And why not also to kind of experiment by assembling together, right, different products. I've actually seen some projects that are kind of combining Uno Qs and legacy Uno R3s and Uno R4s, creating kind of very interesting setups and projects. And so why not? We are always amazed and surprised by the creativity of our community, and I'm actually looking forward to see what they will be able to invent that I wasn't expecting at each new product release that we do.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Marcello, for taking the time to chat with me today. This was great. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot to see from Arduino over the next months and years. So we'll be in touch again. I absolutely know it.
Thank you so much, Ken. It was so fun talking to you.
Now here's Yednesh Parnaik of ENNOVI.
Hello, friends, engineers, and developers. Welcome to another segment here on Embedded Insiders. As always, I'm Ken Briota, Editor-in-Chief of Embedded Computing Design, and your host. I'm very excited to be joined on this episode by Yednesh of ENNOVI. We're going to talk a little bit about EVs and the, if I'm going to be gentle about it, cost challenge that's involved in both the end user buying and also the build and the overhead and stuff, and how we might be able to solve that with hardware innovation. But before we jump right in, Yednesh, can you introduce yourself for our audience and sort of tell them a little bit about you and about ENNOVI?
Yeah, great. Thank you, Ken, for having me. So this is Yednesh Parnaik. I'm head of sales and marketing for ENNOVI. ENNOVI is a custom solutions, interconnect solutions provider. Headquarters based in Singapore, but we have operations in all major regions of the world. And we supply to mostly EVs, automotive, OEMs, tiers, and beyond automotive globally.
Incredible. I've never been to Singapore. It's one of those places that's on my list. I've always wanted to go. I'll have to come up with a good excuse to come and visit ENNOVI's headquarters.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So obviously, the automotive industry has had a sort of complicated relationship with EVs, although they're becoming. I don't know if I'd say that they're the default build yet, but it certainly seems like we're going in that direction in a lot of areas and for a lot of use cases. But one of the big things that is a challenge is the components are electronically more complicated than with internal combustion. And that makes them, as of now, with current technology and current process, more expensive as a rule. Although I don't think you believe it has to be true. Can you tell me a little bit about sort of how you think about the world of hardware innovation in EVs?
Yeah, no, great question. So first of all, if you look at it from a consumer perspective, Ken, there are two key impediments or drivers for EV adoption, right? One is the cost, other is the range.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
And when you think about cost, if you look at the recent study from Kelly Blue Book, EVs are just around $5,000 to $6,000 more expensive than the comparable gas engine, right? And if you look at, so I'll peel the onion a little bit. If you look at a recent study from McKinsey, the greatest cost in the EV is battery. According to their study, is 30 to 40% of the EVs is a battery systems.
Wow.
So if you want to tackle EV adoption problem, right, you have to go after the highest cost element, which is the batteries, and that's what ENNOVI, we work on some of the innovations and components that are part of the battery systems.
Well, I tell you what, battery technology is a sort of personal fascination of mine. I think that battery tech is currently the sort of bottleneck for all technology, like advancement at the moment. We haven't, battery technology is really hard. Energy storage is really hard. And perhaps I'm speaking out of turn here. I don't think you've invented a new kind of battery. I assume I would have heard about that already. So talk to me a little bit about how the building around what is an established technology is making it cheaper or more efficient.
Oh, great question. So let's start at the high level, Ken, where the transition from gas to electric, right? I don't think consumers are ready to do that yet. And that's why the car manufacturers have introduced different types of technologies to address some of the concerns, right? Both on the cost and the range, as I talked earlier. So there are traditional HEVs, which is hybrid electric vehicles. There are plug-in hybrid, and now recently there is more discussion around extended range EVs, right?
Yeah.
So these are addressing some of the range, but also some of the cost element by bringing new materials from, in the past was NMC, to now iron phosphate, to sodium batteries. So there are a lot of innovation going on the cell type, the cell chemistries. And then from ENNOVI perspective, we are also innovating some of the complex systems that make the battery pack and systems, so make it more cheaper and more standard.
Interesting. I've also been hearing about more hydrogen fuel cell innovation to help extend range on EV, and I've always found that to be really interesting, and was always sort of surprised that it didn't catch on more. When people were first talking about it, 25 years ago now or something, that which is neither here nor there, but an interesting range extension, sort of rise of the past. What would you say the biggest challenge in lowering cost for battery specifically is? Is it just the complex materials, the materials science side, or what would you say the challenge there is?
Yeah, I would say the greatest challenge is mass adoption, right?
Okay.
If you think about automotive or EV, it's a very capital intensive industry, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't have sufficient volume, then any new technology would not be profitable, right? So that's how in simple terms, I would look at it. And as the OEMs or car manufacturers are driving more and more complexity because of consumer needs, like just we talked about, they are still producing gasoline engines, now full electric, and then hybrid, plug-in hybrid, range extender, right? So all these variants adds more complexity. And when you invest in any of these technologies and you don't have the volume, you are not able to completely utilize it at the full capacity, right? So I think that's primarily reason is we need to standardize the systems, obviously with innovation, but that will help drive the volume and bring the cost down in simple terms.
Yeah, absolutely. That's that sort of volume and scale question is an interesting one because it's not a technological question. It's an adoption question. And of course, the other side of the market force might help with that. I don't know how things are where you are, but right here, where I live, for a variety of global factors, we're creeping up on $5 a gallon for gasoline, which is for most of the rest of the world about $1.25 a liter, which is, to my mind, quite expensive. And so having a gas car is becoming more expensive. So I think that we might, just based on that, start seeing more EV and hybrid adoption. But you're right, that sort of initial consumer cost is an issue. And that can only come down at scale, which says to me that we need to make the margins wider for the OEMs. And how do we approach that challenge? How do we, our listeners are engineers, they're interested in fixing that problem. So how do they produce a powertrain, an electric powertrain that is more cost effective at the initial build level?
Yeah. No, great question. I'll probably talk more in terms of some of the innovation we are driving, right?
Sure.
So as I said, that in the EVs, 30 to 40% of the cost is batteries. And you start to peel the onion, one of the part that makes up the battery pack is the cell contacting system, right?
Yep.
Which we as ENNOVI are bringing innovation and driving costs down, right? So to answer your question, if you start to take component by component and take one of the complex components within the battery system, which is the cell contacting systems, we are bringing some of the innovations like adhesive-free lamination. So right now, there's a technology to laminate the current collector, which carries high current. It's right now uses certain glue, whether you can heat it to glue it together, or you apply pressure, which is called the cold lamination. And we are coming with the technology to eliminate adhesive.
Oh, wow.
Right. So so that's just one example, right? So it may seem small, but as you scale that type of technology innovation, I think you will reap the benefit of it at a greater level. So that will
also
be
sounds like, sorry, I just had a thought. That also sounds like by eliminating the glue, which is often the fail point, you're extending life cycle as well, which of course also helps amortize the cost and make the consumer, one of the big concerns with early EVs was everybody was like, well, this thing is dead after 6 years when the batteries die. It's totaled regardless of how well I've treated it. If we are making the components last longer and have fewer fail points, that solves that problem too, right?
Absolutely. And then if there are fewer parts, right, that means less process, you have efficient manufacturing as well. So if you think about it, it's just not innovation on a component level, things around it and ability to build it efficiently also helps, right? And that drives also cost down and helps the entire ecosystem.
Absolutely. It's a huge challenge in a really important sector. And obviously, I don't think we're going to solve the whole thing in this conversation, but what is it that our engineers should really know about this problem if they're assuming they're working in automotive and they're intersecting with EVs? What do they need to know in their engineering process, in their design process, that they should be thinking about if they want to produce the most efficient thing with current technology?
Yeah, good question. So I've been an engineer in the past, and I think I tell engineers to fail fast. Right. So there are a lot of digital tools nowadays, like a digital AI twin, or AI to simulate this early on, a failure point at a prototype stage before the industry put a lot of resources and cost. So I think that may be one approach. The other approach we have taken is engage with customers early on. So as they are designing their next generation vehicle or product or battery pack, we get engaged faster, so we can influence the design, bring our innovation like the adhesive, free lamination, or the FDC, which is the flexible die cut options, the vertical integration, localization. So I think engaging with supply base and partnering with us and companies like us would definitely bring that that innovation upfront to add to the product, right? Then wait until the end. So I think that will be maybe a suggestion for engineers to look up.
I always hesitate to ask anybody to make a prediction because it's hard to do that, and nobody wants to be wrong. But is there a sort of technological innovation that you're looking forward to in the world of EVs and this powertrain, or battery technology that you've sort of seen some research that you think is really exciting and cool that maybe our listeners should be looking for and paying attention to?
Yeah, no, great question. So first of all, on a broader beyond ENNOVI, we talk about solid state batteries, right? The holy grail. Now there is different definition of solid state that has progressed through the years. So I think solid state batteries, which are higher level of safety and range, I think that is something I'm looking forward to as a someone coming from battery world, frankly, Ken. The other thing focusing on ENNOVI is as you look at how the progression of the battery systems in the vehicle, right? It started with the traditional pack and module, and now which is similar to considering eggs in the carton and packed. So that is a traditional way. Now we are moving from the pack and module to cell to pack and then cell to chassis. So if you look at some of the innovation in the battery systems, the cell itself is becoming the structural, the chassis. And I think that is also driving the cost down, and we providing solutions, the cell contacting systems to all these variants, helps driving some of the flexibility of adoptions.
I don't know if you're a racing fan, but in the Formula One and Formula E series, that's basically where they've been doing, and I think it's super interesting and cool. Although this is not an encouragement for those of you out there with EVs to drive like your Formula One drivers. You are not. I once invented a 100% efficient vehicle when I was a teenager. What it was a boat with a sail. How long before that's the kind of car that we're driving? We've just got sails. Thank you so much, Yednesh, for taking the time to chat with me today. This was really cool and really interesting.
No, likewise. It's always great to talk to someone like yourself, who has wide industry knowledge, and it's great to take these questions, and hopefully it will be valuable to your listeners. So thanks for having me and ENNOVI.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Folks out there listening, where can they find out more about ENNOVI and about you out on the internet?
Yeah, so ENNOVI, we are quite visible in the industry. I mean, you can go to ennovi.com. For more information, they can also reach out to me on LinkedIn. ENNOVI is also at various trade shows. We are going to be at Stuttgart Battery Show. Okay. Some of our team members, so they can look us up there.
Yeah.
and meet
Coming up
us.
quick is Computex in Taiwan. Are you going to be there?
No, not to my
No?
knowledge,
Oh,
Ken.
okay. Well, I will. If you're listening to this and Computex hasn't already passed, come and find me. I'll be there. Everyone out there listening, thank you so much for joining us once again for Embedded Insiders. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast platform, thank you so much for subscribing. If you found us on YouTube and you haven't yet subscribed, please do that. Leave us a comment. Tell us what battery tech you're looking forward to, or what EV challenges you are facing in your engineering projects, and we will maybe bring somebody in to answer those questions. Maybe we'll have to bring Yednesh back for a part 2. But for now, that's the end of this segment. Thank you again, Yednesh. Really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks, Ken.
Have a great day, everybody. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Embedded Insiders. For more daily news, videos, and podcasts, visit our website at embeddedcomputing.com.